Of our August 6th Stormwater Management Committee meeting. I want to welcome all the members of the committee and the members of the public who are listening in. And we appreciate the excellent professional support of Metro staff for setting this meeting up and making this possible and allowing our public business to continue during these unusual times. So the first thing I need to do is to ask our IT folks to try to mute the other folks who are not muted at this point. Okay. All right. So it sounds like we fixed that. Okay. So I want to ask all the members of the committee to be prepared to be called upon to state their name and to verify that they are present. So at this time, I'll take a roll call of members present, and we'll begin with Ms. Stokes. Are you here today? All right, Ms. Stokes is marked as not present. Mr. Dale, state your name and please let us know if you're here.
This is Roy Dale, and I'm in attendance today.
Excellent, sir. Good to hear from you. All right, Ms. Maddox. And you may have to scroll your screen with your mouse to have your mic come up. Okay, we're not hearing Ms. Maddox right now, so let me come back to her. Ms. Adams Taylor, are you here? Okay, not here for Ms. Adams Taylor. Dr. Gomez Velez, are you present? He had intended to be absent and he is still marked absent. Okay, so I want to ask our IT folks to check on the status of Ms. Maddox and Ms. Taylor to see if they've gotten connected. So we're not going to be able to proceed without a quorum.
This is Penny. Can you hold on just a moment, please?
Glad to.
We're trying to get them connected.
Glad to. Thank you.
Hey, Dad, this is Anna.
Good morning. This is Anna Maddox.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
That's all right. Thank you. Glad you're here and present. All right. Anybody know about the status of Ms. Adams Taylor?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm here. This is Renette Adams Taylor.
Excellent. Thank you. Good to have you with us. Okay. All right. So all of the members of our committee that are needed for a quorum are properly accounted for. So at this time, want to let people know that they can call in and participate in this meeting this morning to either offer comments or to comment on other items of business in front of the committee. And that number is 629-255-1919, 629-255-1919. So to make sure that we're operating this meeting in a legal manner, since we're operating virtually, we need to entertain a motion at this point related to the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic requires us to hold telephonic meetings as permitted under the governor's executive order number 16, and that's being extended by executive orders numbers 34 and 51. So would anyone like to offer a motion? And please raise your hand and I'll call on you.
Mr. Chair, the motion also needs to state that this is essential business of the metropolitan government.
Gladly, thank you. And for some reason, I can't see the attendees' names nor the fact that they're raising their hands on my screen. So something's a little bit different today, by the way. Okay, now I can see it. All right. So Ms. Maddox is raising her hand. All right, Ms. Maddox, do you have the statement in front of you on the run of show that you can integrate into your motion?
Oh, no.
Okay, would you like me to propose a statement to you?
That would be great.
Okay, if you could move that the meeting that the meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak.
All right, I will make a motion to approve that we hold our Stormwater Management Committee meetings electronically as part of the governor's directive to protect the health and safety of
And welfare.
and welfare of our residents due to COVID-19.
Thank you. I think that motion has been properly worded, and all we need now is a second. Anyone would like to make a second? Ms. Ronette Adams-Taylor, you're recognized.
Second.
All right. Motion been made and properly seconded. Does anyone have any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing no hands raised, I'll call for a vote, and this is a roll call vote. I'll call you by name. If you'll identify yourself and your vote, that'd be greatly appreciated. Ms. Stokes, how do you vote? Excuse me, Ms. Stokes is not here. Mr. Dale, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
All right, Mr. Dale votes yes. Ms. Maddox, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Maddox votes yes. Ms. Adams-Taylor, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Adams-Taylor votes yes. And Chair Galbraith votes yes as well. All right, the motion passes unanimously. We'll proceed to the next item of business, which is to approve minutes and decision letters from our May 7th meeting and July 2nd meetings. So we'll start first with the oldest set of minutes and decision letters. And at this point, I'd like to ask if any other members of the committee have any edits to the meeting minutes of May 7th that they would like to entertain at this time. I know I have some as well. All right, well, I'm waiting for someone to raise their hand. Let me mention a couple of edits that I've noticed. On page 1, May 7th, 2020, I'd like to suggest that Ms. Maddox be listed as vice chair and that Mr. Galbraith be listed as chair. If you could just delete the word man from the end of chairman, I think just chair and vice chair would be sufficient. And then on page 3 and 4, we've had some discussion recently that that needed to be raised formally here in this meeting, that perhaps there's some clarity missing from the conditions listed in the variance conditions of both the minutes and the letter of approval that we send out, and perhaps there may even be some redundancy between items 6 and 7. So would any member of the committee like to comment on these last 2 points at this time? All right, Ms. Maddox, you're recognized.
Yes, I believe that there is redundancy in items 6 and 7. I would like to I guess remove either 6 or 7 and clarify whether it be a restrictive covenant or a long-term maintenance plan. I think it can be approved by staff, but I think we need to mention who it needs to be submitted to or approved by.
All right, so is that all of your comment, Ms. Maddox?
Yeah.
All right, so I've got a suggestion. Since Mr. Dale originally made this motion, and since if memory serves me correct, Ms. Maddox seconded that motion. Mr. Dale, do you have some new language for how we might edit this particular section that might ensure that we're not just leaving it up to the applicant to decide which tool he uses to assure the intent of these conditions, and that staff approve it, and maybe we can either be a little more precise or be a little more general to allow staff and the applicant or the appellant to work it out, so that we don't get in trouble with prescribing it too narrowly and tying their hands. Which of those options are you willing to entertain, Mr. Dale, in the form of a motion, if you agree?
I mean, I looked at this, it's very confusing to me. And so I would almost like for legal to maybe make a suggestion on how this should be done, if we can do that.
Excellent idea. Ms. Costonis, are you available to give us your feedback?
I am here. If you all will hold on for just a minute, I'm going to try to pull the decision letter up. I'm having trouble simultaneously listening and finding it. So give me just a minute.
Yes, that's completely understandable. We're working under very unique conditions. And just to remind members of the committee and members of the public who are listening in, since this discussion took place some time ago, this case involved certain degrees of cuts and fills in an area of the Cumberland River floodplain where a significant development is proposed to enhance the economic development of downtown Nashville and to protect the environment. And staff had initially recommended that we consider enforceable tools to ensure that the cut and fill balances that were proposed by the appellant were carried out and executable as additional property owners purchased different parcels of land over a period of time, because they anticipated this would take multiple years to do so.
I apologize. I'm having trouble. Yes, I'm having trouble finding the document. Penny, would you be able to email it to me really quick?
Yes, give me just a moment, please.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Maddox, did you also note that there was a little bit of difference between the decision letter and the minutes between these two conditions?
Yes, they are slightly different.
Okay. Yeah. I think the decision letter is a little more concise, but I'm not sure that we necessarily want that since these are fairly concise as they are in the minutes. But I agree that, at least on my part, that we got a little more information that is maybe necessary. This leaves more room for more details to be covered that may be needed. And in a legal context, sometimes that gets more and more complicated. Ms. Costonis, have you
Yes,
received
I'm
that
sorry.
email?
I'm looking at the minutes now. Was it the minutes that you all wanted to look at?
Yeah, we're looking at the minutes right now, page 3 and 4. We
I'm there.
want to make sure we start with the minutes before we edit the decision letters because we don't want them to be out of sync with each other.
So since all we're doing at this point in time is approving the minutes,
Yes, ma'am.
we really are looking for accuracy of what was stated and moved in the meeting itself, as opposed to, kind of revisiting the substantive matter. So I have not gone back and watched the video of last month's meeting. Is the question is Ms. Maddox's point about the redundancy between 6 and 7, or I'm sorry, could you recharacterize what the question is that you want me to answer?
Yeah, what prompted us not passing these minutes and decision letters in our July meeting was that the meeting video and the motion that was passed might not have integrated our intent to make sure that the proper legal instrument to ensure the enforceability of these conditions would not be left up to the applicant. And so Ms. Gilbert both looked at the video, and we feel like the minutes now more accurately represent Mr. Dale's motion, but it appears that we did not explicitly require staff approval, and we don't know if that's implicitly available or if it has to be explicitly required. So the edits that were needed to be made have been made. As Ms. Maddox and I look at the minutes again as edited, it appears that there's perhaps some redundant language here that could be further edited, and we still don't have an answer to the question of whether or not we have to make it clear that staff approve the legal instrument that you all had encouraged us to integrate into these conditions.
Okay, and you're saying that when you went back and looked at the video, it did not appear that that requirement was actually made a part of the motion?
I think that's clear. I had asked Mr. Dale if he'd be willing to integrate that into it, and then when he made his motion, that specific reference was not in the motion, and I didn't catch it at the time and suggest an amendment at the time.
Right.
The difficulty of this kind of virtual environment, I think that kind of slipped by me.
I think it would in fact have to be a part of the motion.
Okay.
So I think we would have to kind of put it back on an agenda and notice it and amend the prior motion.
Okay. All right. So if we follow the chicken or egg approach here, it sounds like the first item of business is to decide as a committee whether or not we want to revisit this and renotice it and make that correction. Does that sound right, Ms. Costonis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Dale, you raised your hand. What is your preference, or what is your motion?
I really hate to have to re-advertise and go through this process again. Is it not implied in our meeting notes that staff would be, obviously to me, someone has to review these documents. Is it not implied, is it not implicit that staff would be involved in this process, or we could just change the minutes or decision letters to reflect that?
I think Ms. Costona's just affirmed that it has to be explicit.
Okay. Well, then we don't have any choice
Okay.
but to renotice this.
So do you have a motion, Mr. Dale?
Yeah, I would move that on a future agenda that this item be placed back on our agenda so that we can ensure that the conditions that we've placed on here are clearly understood
And approved by staff?
and approved by staff. Yes.
All right, that's Mr. Dale's motion that we revisit this issue for the specific concern that these conditions need to be clearly stated and be approved by staff. So do we have a second? Ms. Maddox.
I'll second.
All right, motion been made, properly seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, do a roll call vote. Mr. Dale, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Dale votes aye. Ms. Maddox?
Yes.
Ms. Maddox votes yes. Ms. Adams-Taylor?
Yes.
All right. All right, Ms. Adams-Taylor votes yes, and as chair, I'll vote yes as well. And so the motion carries. So at this point, it appears that this portion of the minutes needs to be, I don't know, Ms. Costonas, would you mind advising us as to how we need to deal with now the issue of the approval of these minutes? These minutes have to be edited to note the fact that they could not be approved as read today, or it certainly means we need to withhold the decision letter, I think, for this particular case.
You're muted.
Ms. Costonas?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so I was saying that to the extent that the minutes do accurately reflect what was said at that meeting, they should not be changed. They should continue to state what was said at that meeting. And today's minutes will reflect that you voted to amend what was previously adopted.
Excellent. All right. And am I correct in saying that that we do not need to approve the decision letter regarding this case?
You can choose not to vote on that today until your amendment is adopted, yes.
Okay. All right. All right. So just to restate it for all the members of the committee, the portion of the minutes related to this case that were discussed on May 7th, 2020 are now accurate. There may be some redundancy there, but that doesn't have to be addressed today since we just voted to re-notice this and to resolve it next month. Does anyone have a motion regarding the edits that were suggested on page 1 and the approval of the minutes as presented in this version today? All right, Ms. Ronette Adams-Taylor,
Yes.
you're recognized.
Thank you. I make a motion that we accept the edits as submitted on page 1 and that we approve the minutes as of today. Based on discussions as of today. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Adams-Taylor. So I have a motion that we make the edits on page 1 to Mr. Galbraith's role as chair, Ms. Maddox's role as vice chair, and that we accept the rest of the minutes as presented here in this draft based upon the discussion we had today. Do we have a second? Ms. Maddox, you recognize?
Second that motion.
All right, we have a motion that's been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion for the approval of the minutes with these edits? Seeing none, we'll proceed with a roll call vote for the May 7th minutes. All right, so we have Mr. Dale. What is your vote?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Dale votes yes. Ms. Maddox, what is your vote?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Maddox votes yes. Ms. Adams-Taylor, what is your vote?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Adams-Taylor votes yes, and the chair, Galbraith, votes yes as well. All right, the approval of the minutes passes. So at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of all of the decision letters except for the one regarding the River North Phase 1 case 2020 00001. Anyone like to offer that motion? All right, Ms. Ms. Maddox, excuse me.
I'll make a motion to approve all of the decision letters with the exception of River North Phase 1.
All right, we have a motion. All right, thank you, Ms. Maddox. We have a motion to approve all decision letters except for the River North Phase 1 case that is being deferred or is being, it will be renoticed next month. Recognize Ms. Ronette Adams-Taylor for a second.
Yes, I second.
All right, Ms. Ronette Adams-Taylor has properly seconded the motion, so we have a motion that's been made and properly seconded. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, do a roll call vote on the approval of these decision letters. We'll start with Mr. Dale.
Yes.
Mr. Dale votes aye. Ms. Maddox?
Yes.
Ms. Maddox votes aye. Ms. Adams-Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Adams-Taylor votes aye. Chair Galbraith votes yes as well. And a unanimous vote for approval of all the decision letters except for the one that was omitted. All right, so now we'll proceed to the minutes and decision letters for July 2nd. And want to ask if anyone has any edits. I noticed some edits that we need, some minor edits that we need to address there as well. So Mr. Hunt, you're recognized.
Yes, going back to the past issue on river landings, I did want to pass along that just this morning, I received from TDEC as I'm copied on the issuances of construction general permits, that it appears the river landings, well, the landings at River North Phase 1 was just issued their notice of coverage. So I just want to verify with legal that until this minutes or decision letter matter plays out, permitting needs to be on hold. Is that a correct assumption?
I'm sorry, Mr. Hunt, you're talking, that's the same as River North?
I believe so. I gotta admit, I'm not 100% sure which one you were talking about, but the landings at River North Phase 1.
Okay. And what permits are they permits that would be dependent on the variance that you're referring to, Mr. Hunt?
We generally can't issue grading permits until sites, if needed, have their construction general permit coverage from the state. I guess I'm bringing up that we received that notice of coverage today. in that the site may be ready to proceed with the project. And I'm wondering the significance of needing to hash out the decision letter language has on our issuing the grading permit. I'm assuming we hold the grading permit until the decision letter issue is resolved.
So I'm sorry, so there's only one grading permit for that phase of the project? Is that a correct statement?
I honestly am not completely aware. Maybe Mr. Mishu knows that, or Logan.
Mr. Bowman has his hand raised. Mr. Bowman, do you have something relevant to offer on this discussion?
Yes. There is a grading permit application open for both River North Phase 1, which would be the infrastructure installation, roads, water, sewer, stormwater, and the cut and fill. And then there is a separate grading permit application for the landings at River North, which is the first 3 build outs along the river. So they both were given different variances. The variance in question is River North Phase 1, I believe.
And is that the same one that the state just issued the construction general permit on?
But
No.
they had a previous notice of coverage issued. So it sounds like the landings has a separate one that just got issued.
Correct.
So if the landings one is not dependent on this particular variant, it seems like it could proceed. But the one that is, the one where they would not have been able to obtain a grading permit but for this variance being granted, given that the committee has voted to revisit the conditions on that variance at the upcoming meeting, I think that one would have to wait until the conditions on that variance are finalized.
All right, thank you.
All right.
And I realize this may seem a little unconventional, but I think the efficient operation of government services to an appellant that is trying to proceed with a fairly significant investment is worthy of a little more discussion. But is Ms. Costones, would it be appropriate in the interim that if the appellant were to submit a letter in writing to staff saying that they voluntarily agree to have staff approve these enforceable tools, would that in any way hasten this process?
I'm not sure how they could make that binding on themselves.
No. Okay.
I mean, I mean, if they the conditions for staff approval and staff approval and approves them and they actually record them, and then that would be binding.
But the larger issue here is as long as we haven't approved the decision letter in the minutes, this thing is on the hold really no matter what they do. Is that correct?
So there is authority under state law that, you know, we always read the notice at the beginning of the meeting when we start talking about a new matter. I guess in this meeting we read at the beginning of a matter that, you know, that you have the 60 days to file your writ of certiorari. So there's case law that says that that 60 days that the party has to attempt that method of appeal begins to run from the date that something more is done than just making an oral motion. That it is often the approval of the written minutes at the subsequent meeting that constitutes that adoption that the appeal runs from. And you know, if an appeal period runs without any appeal being filed, then the action becomes final. Otherwise, it is subject to that potential appeal. From that perspective, your action is not final until 60 days has run from the date that you actually finalize it, and it can be further extended if you amend it. Then again, it's the amendment that becomes a part of it, and then you have to wait 60 days from the date the amendment is actually adopted in the minutes before it will be fully final. That was a very inarticulate explanation, and I apologize. So what I'm saying is basically the action of the committee is not final at this point, because you have expressed a desire to amend your motion, and that is going to go on the upcoming agenda. And then when that amendment is adopted, and then a decision letter or minutes based on that amendment are finalized and adopted, that is when the appeal period will begin to run from this action, and when you will be able to have a final decision. Does that make more sense? Did I explain it better the second time?
Yes. Yes. And so just to clarify before I recognize either Mr. Mishu or Mr. Hunt, who have their hands raised, is it possible to act on this amendment in the next meeting, and then in that same meeting approve the decision letter for that project with that new condition, assuming the committee continues along its current path, in order to kind of move this along? Or would that have to wait another 30 days like we typically do?
It would not. Doing this
it would not have to wait 30 days, is what you mean?
Doing this in the form of a virtual meeting may make this more awkward, but the other way you could do it is you could actually adopt and sign a written resolution. Like if we were having an in-person meeting, sometimes immediately after action is taken by a board or commission, like a written version of that is then circulated for signature by the board members or commissioners. And that is not, that is something that could be done at the Stormwater Management Committee as well. How to do it virtually, I think we'd have to circulate it electronically for electronic signatures or something along those lines. I'm not quite sure how we're doing that with the signatures on the minutes and decision letters now. But yes, if a virtual document was circulated immediately after your action was taken by motion, then you could sign it then and there, and it would then be finalized and adopted at that time. That is another way to do it.
All right, so I'm just going to say, just for my part only, that I would support any efforts that we could undertake to move this along once the committee has made its final conditional approval. So, Mr. Mishu, you're recognized. Mr. Mishu, you're muted still. There you go.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering if it was okay with the committee if we could work offline with staff and legal on this issue to make sure that we get everything addressed. And if we come up to an agreement with legal that the issuance of the permit can move forward, then we will do so. And if not, we will wait. So the only request is maybe we could work on this offline.
I think that's fine, but I think Ms. Costonis has made clear that, you know, this is a pending matter just by virtue of the public notice requirements that we're dealing with. So.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mishu. But y'all are welcome to come up with other creative alternatives that we have not thought of yet. All right, Mr. Dale.
Thank you. Yeah, I've read back through this decision letter again, and it definitely needs to be revisited.
Okay.
I don't want to get into the details of the case that much, but for instance, I guess on that one note, it says something about 7,200 cubic yards, but it doesn't say cut or fill. So it's I think that based upon the size of this project, it probably does need to be revisited. And now on their grading permit that they're trying to get right now, if there is no uncompensated fill within that first phase, I assume they could proceed, could they not?
Mr. Mishu or Mr. Bowman, whoever feels like they can answer that question is recognized.
Yeah, there will be uncompensated fill in the first phase. So the landing parcel would be providing cut separately.
Okay.
When they develop the 7,200 cubic yards an acre. But the River North Phase 1, the goal was to continue on with that uncompensated fill.
Okay. It sounds like we're going to have to proceed with the situation that we have. So why don't we proceed with the discussion of the minutes from July 2nd. Mr. Mishu, do you have anything else you want to contribute?
I think Mr. Mishu stepped away.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to make a couple of quick suggestions to the minutes of July 2nd, 2020. These are really minor. Page 1, the same changes that we discussed in the previous motion. And then if you'll refer to page 6 and page 8, on page 6, it says the appellate must provide imagines of area where bungalows will be placed. I think that should be images. I know we deal with lots of imagination in some of these proposals, but I think in this case, the word there is images. And then on page 8, the first sentence, I think, would be helped with a simple strike of a grouping of words that begins on the third sentence of that paragraph. If we could strike a full agenda to get more of, the sentence would read, Mr. Dodd Galbraith stated a concern to the Stormwater Committee members and Metro staff of having a discussion at one of the future Stormwater Management meetings that did not have a clear guideline or template for mitigation on cases requesting a variance. So I think if we delete a full agenda to get more of, that'll make that sentence read a little more clearly. And I don't have any other edits unless another committee member has an edit. Does anyone have a motion or any further edits that they would like to consider for the approval of these minutes? And if you will also consider approval of the decision letters that go along with these minutes, if you don't see any other edits in them, I think that motion will help us move along. All right, Ms. Maddox.
I think we also need to, on these minutes, update our titles under the members.
On page 1?
Page 1.
Okay.
You're still listed as vice chairman.
Okay. All right.
So you should be listed as chair and Anna Maddox as vice chair.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Maddox. All right. So we have edits on page 1 and page 6 and page 8. Does anyone else like to offer a motion with these, incorporating these edits in the minutes and the approval of these minutes as edited and the approval of the decision letters? All right, Ms. Maddox.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and decision letters with the noted changes.
All right, so Ms. Maddox has made a motion that we make the edits that were suggested to the titles on page 1, the replacement of the word imagine with images on page 6, and striking the phrase "a full agenda to get more of" on page 8 in the third sentence of the second paragraph of that page. Do we have a second? Ms. Ronette Adams Taylor.
I second.
All right, motion's been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion of the approval of the minutes and decision letters? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Dale, how do you vote, sir?
Mr. Dale votes yes.
Thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Maddox, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Adams Taylor, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Galbraith votes yes. We have unanimous approval of the minutes and decision letters for July 2nd. Okay, I think we set a record for the time we spent on minutes and decision letters, but just to let everyone listening in that the case that we previously are going to take more action on is a very significant case that we want to make sure we manage right due to the concerns about avoiding raising flood heights to neighboring property owners and ensuring that economic development will continue properly in downtown Nashville. So we appreciate your patience. So at this time, we are going to start with our first item of business, and I'm going to ask Ms. Gilbert to read our opening statement that Ms. Costonis referred to earlier. Or actually, I think Mr. Bowman.
Yeah, sorry.
Mr. Bowman is going to read that. Yes, thank you, sir.
All right. The opening statement to the applicant. If you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Stormwater Management Committee, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the committee's decision. You are advised to seek the independent advice of legal counsel and ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been satisfied.
All right, so I want to remind members of the public that if you want to call in to speak on this next case as it's introduced, you can call 629-255-1919, 629-255-1919. That's on your screen right now. So while the case is being introduced, I want to ask the applicant to be prepared to be set up to present a 10-minute summary of their proposal and to have all members who will be participating in that proposal presentation present, prepared to turn on their mics when asked, and I asked the applicant to introduce all of those people, so they should be prepared to do that after Ms. Hayes presents a summary of your case. All right, Ms. Hayes, you're recognized.
Zero 2509 West Linden Avenue. This is single family residential. The stand part is 10415 031100. The inspector is yours truly, Kimberly Hayes. This is Council District 18, Tom Cash. Applicant's request is to allow the following: disturbance of buffer area. The appellant is the property owner, Jonathan Swafford. The representatives today for this case is Randy Robinson, also Al Wilkinson. Comments are as noted. Stormwater staff, buffer signs should be placed on undisturbed portion of buffer. Codes comments, no comments provided. Planning, site is zone RS 7.5, defers to stormwater for review. And greenways, no comment provided. The case is ready to be heard.
Hello, this is Randy Robinson. Thank you, Mr. Galbraith and meeting members for this time in consideration for our application for variance. We are proposing an addition to the single-family residence of the Swathard family that we've thoughtfully planned with the design by Allard Ward Architects, with consideration to an existing historic home that we have been sensitive to the architectural aesthetics and, of course, in this case, the environmental considerations with regard to the stream buffer that we're asking for a variance on the stream buffer based on the footprint of the addition. Working with Al Wilkinson, the landscape architect, and Brandy Zachary, the civil engineer, they have taken in consideration the advice from the stormwater management to include elements to reduce the impact of the addition in the buffer area, which include basically the addition is an open carport and porch that has a roof but is opened on the sidewalls. And we've included, of course, modified French drains to manage any of the footprint runoff water. And in addition, vegetative planting strips, impervious pavers. We are including a rain garden. And of course, we are going to take care of best practices during construction through this process.
Okay, is that your entire presentation, sir, this morning?
Yes, basically, of course, including all the information that we've submitted.
I'd like to add a few comments, if that's okay. I'm Jonathan Swafford, the owner.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Swafford.
Sure.
You may proceed.
Yeah, so I've lived in the Hillsborough West End area for about 30 years, 10 of which have been at the West Linden house. And my wife and I have been working on a plan to improve the house and the environment since about 2017. And it's been a bit of a challenging process to come up with a plan that fits kind of my requirements for an energy efficient house with a parking area and space for our mother-in-law, historic zoning requirements, as well as environmental and buffer requirements. And to be honest, we haven't been able to come up with a plan that fits all requirements perfectly. But our intent really is to make positive changes both to the house and the environment. And I do feel that we are making positive changes in all aspects. We were awarded the 2014 Hillsborough West End Nashville Elizabeth Paris Good Hood Award in recognition of efforts to restore and improve the built environment, which included kind of just maintaining the characteristics of the house as well as our native landscaping in the front of the house. And so, really, my intent is to make a house that is, fits in with the neighborhood, as well as one that's really environmentally respectful. And I'd like to thank the committee for taking the time to review our appeal.
Thank you, Mr. Swafford. So do you all have anyone else with you that can offer any additional technical or economic perspectives about your proposal? right, seeing none. We will close the 10-minute period for the applicant presentation, and we'll open it up for public comments. Mr. Mishu, are there any public members in person at the kiosk at the Sunny West Conference Center that would like to comment on the proposal at this time?
No, sir.
All right. Do we have any live call-in comments at this point?
No, we do not.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gilbert. All right, Mr. Bowman or Ms. Gilbert, do we have any emailed comments that need to be read at this time?
No, there were no emails sent into this case.
Okay. All right, seeing that we have no live call-in, public in-person, or email comments at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for discussion by members of the committee and for questions of the applicant. All right, Mr. Dale, you're recognized.
I'll get started. So I guess I have a couple of questions, and maybe I didn't hear. Maybe this was discussed. I don't think it was. But what is the I'll list my questions, and then maybe the applicant can answer those. So I want to know what the proximity of this building is to the existing tributary, to the center of the ditch, how far the building is within that area. Is this building like it has a foundation wall that goes all the way down to the ground? And has there been any history of flooding in this area? And does the applicant know the drainage area as well? So I've got those 4 questions.
All right, so the applicant is recognized.
Oh, great. I may not be able to remember all 4 questions in order.
Is this Mr. Swafford?
That's correct. Sorry.
All right, it's okay.
So I think the first was, what is the distance from the stream to the existing house, as well as what is the distance from the stream bank to the proposed addition? Would that be accurate?
That'll work for now, yeah.
Okay. Give me one moment. I have a 3D rendering of this currently. So the existing building is 41 feet away from the stream bank. The proposed addition, which is kind of what I'm calling the first block, if you zoom in to the existing building area, that's section G, that is adding on a distance of 10 feet to the back of the existing building. And so those walls are composed of, they're going to be brick. Oh, excuse me, not 10 feet. It's a total of 17 feet. So that means about 5 feet, 6 inches is intruding on the 30-foot buffer zone. Next to section G, as Randy indicated, was, I believe, section H, which is the covered carport. So there is a roof on top of that, but the space underneath is completely open to allow for access to a car. So there will be, a few posts there, but it's empty otherwise. The square above that is a screened-in porch, and that will be have kind of wood sides, and there will be grass underneath it. But above that, there will be, as I said, kind of a screened-in porch. So the distance of the addition, as I mentioned, is, I believe, it's 24 feet away from the top of the stream bank.
Okay, Mr. Swafford, I think the other 2 questions were, have you ever experienced any flooding on the property or seen any flooding? Do you have any idea how large the watershed is above your site?
Yeah, so we obviously experienced flooding during the 2010 floods, as much of Nashville did, unfortunately. And since then, there have been some flooding incidents related to kind of how a house was built downstream that kind of exacerbated flooding issues. And so I'm very familiar with flooding and have thought about it long and discussed it with a number of experts. And we will be using FEMA compliant floodgates underneath the addition area to ensure that we are not having a negative impact on kind of flooding should it occur from the stream area.
And the watershed size, maybe someone from our staff could maybe zoom out and give us some idea of maybe give us a topo map so we can see kind of the contours where there may be a break in the watershed, how far up the watershed this site is. Thank you, Rebecca. You always do a great job with this.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Mishu, I'm sorry, your hand has been somewhat perpetually raised, so I wasn't sure when I should recognize you.
Yes, sir. The acreage is over 40 acres, but less than 100 acres.
Okay. All right. And Rebecca, can you, I think that makes the point there, Rebecca, can you also give us an idea of the brick structure and the carport, how far those intrude into the zone 1? Of course, we still have to consider the zone 2 as well, but unless any members don't want to look at this, there you go. Okay, so where is the zone 1, Rebecca? If you'll kind of trace that with your handy pointer right there. Okay, right through the middle of the brick structure, and all of the carport and the screened-in porch would be in the zone 1 as well. Okay, Mr. Swafford, our challenge here is, and I'm Dodd Galbraith, I'm the chair of the committee, is that we've had many applicants in front of us in the past who have proposed buildings in the zone 1, and it's pretty rare that we allow any structures in the zone 1. And you have 3 structures, one that would have a closed footprint, and 2 that would have holes, both in the zone 1. We've been a little more aware of the challenge of these types of sites and the need to accommodate additional room for having parents at home. In the past, when they have involved the zone 2, but typically they don't occupy a significant area of the zone 2. They usually encroach on a corner or a smaller footprint, and then we also mitigate that as well. So this is a very challenging proposal in regard to how we have treated people in the past and whether or not we can grant this kind of experience to you that we haven't granted to others in the past. So at this time, since I'm going to ask Mr. Dale, since I saw his hand first, and then we'll come back to you, Mr. Swafford, and recognize you.
I just want staff to clarify this. So it's my understanding this is a stream buffer, I think. So there is a zone 1 and there is no zone 2. So when we have a stream buffer, do we consider those to be a stream buffer, or do we consider those to be a zone 1 buffer? That's my question to staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. Mr. Swaffer, we'll get to you after we hear from staff. Yeah, I assumed that there was a zone 2 there. That's my mistake.
Well, this is Rebecca. When we say zone 1 buffer, it's in reference to an undisturbed buffer typically. So this is just the buffer. There's no zone 1 and zone 2, but I think calling it a zone 1 allows people to understand that it's a no-mow area adjacent to the stream.
Okay. Is there a floodway also consideration here?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody understood that this is a stream buffer. We do call it is called a zone 1 buffer here, just like she described, because it's an area that would not normally be mowed, but it's not like we would look where we have a floodway and then we also have an associated zone 1 and zone 2 buffer. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that I'm correct about that. But now I agree with what Chairman has said. Even in a stream buffer, you know, we have been somewhat reluctant to issue variances for, you know, building additions. Not saying that we've not done that before, but I'm just more or less agreeing with what he had said. So I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Swaffer speak, I guess, and I'll admit myself.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. Appreciate that, that additional insight. Mr. Swaffer, you're recognized.
Great, thank you. So, yeah, I think just to be quite clear on what was just said previously, as well as for the attendees, you know, the zone 1 buffer is, correct me if I'm wrong, 30 feet from the stream bank should be ideally an unmanaged forest. At least that's how, you know, I interpreted it when I was reading the Metro Stormwater Manual. Is that, you know, accurate?
Would staff like to comment on that?
Yes, that is accurate.
Okay, great. So I completely agree, you know, not that it matters, that with everything that is in the Metro Stormwater Manual. If I was on a plat that was, you know, an acre and, you know, the stream was kind of in the middle of the property as it is here, it would be, you know, quite simple for me to have, you know, that 30-foot of, you know, unmanaged, you know, kind of wonderful forest area on both sides. The real hardship here in terms of, you know, building anything is that the stream pretty much directly bisects the property, meaning that really, if we were to have 30 feet of unmanaged area on both sides, the only addition that someone could make to the property is extending it by 8 feet, which is not really, it is not really doing anything. Then to add to the complexity, because of kind of historic overlays, it makes it harder for us to go up vertically. So we're kind of in an area where, you know, we're just, you know, we almost can't do anything. And that's kind of what I alluded to, you know, when I was kind of making my opening statement is, you know, we're trying to come up with something that fits all the requirements, but because the stream is directly in the center of our property, there's not much that we can do. Now, I can tell you that, you know, since 2017, we've come up with many various plans as to, you know, how to kind of rectify this. You know, one of them was to build a garage in the back part of our property, but that required having some sort of paved surface that goes over the stream and into the south side of the buffer area, which is, you know, just, you know, very good at the moment. So, you know, doing that while it made the north side of the existing building, you know, more compatible, more copacetic with the 30-foot zone 1 buffer, it ended up ultimately just pretty much wiping out most of the real buffer zone. So when we're thinking out of buffer quality, it was a large reduction. And so, really what, I've been thinking about in terms of, the buffer zone, we've got kind of the buffer quality, which right now I would kind of characterize as rather poor quality. It's kind of grass that's mostly mowed. In addition, the stream bank on one side is composed of kind of concrete blocks that are kind of scoured and gouged out. And so that concrete is going into the stream. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for displaying that purpose. And additionally, I've been thinking about stream bank stabilization. A few years ago, there was a tree on the north side of that bank that fell on our house because it was, the roots were situated in a way where, just wind blew it over and hit our house. So, my intent for kind of improving the buffer quality is, well, I understand that we're reducing the space on the north side, the quality of it will be much greater. And on the south side, the quality is going to be much greater as well as a larger area. As far as water quality and kind of the stream bank, we want to take down that concrete wall and replace it with mechanically stabilized earth that has plants and vegetation planted upon it, which would also, I do believe, kind of help in the stream bank stabilization aspect of it. And as far as stormwater runoff, water going into the stream, I think Randy kind of mentioned that, we've got a lot of areas such as vegetated filter strips to kind of ensure that the additional stormwater runoff based on kind of the 1-inch stormwater runoff calculations is kind of handled.
All right, Mr. Swafford, thank you for your additional insight from the perspective of the property owner and your points concerning your effort to improve the site are well taken, sir. So, Mr. Dale, you're recognized.
Thank you. This is another question to staff. I sort of looked at this. I think this is probably 50 or 60 acres, but if someone were to come in and record a subdivision plat on this property, what size easement would they be required to place over this drainage way?
May I, Chairman?
Yes, sir. Please. I can't see your hand raised, so I'm sorry I didn't recognize you.
Thank you, sir. We would ask for a 5-foot easement beyond the top of the bank on both sides, but only one side's more relevant than the other over here.
I only asked that question, based upon, I wanted, if this committee were to grant a variance, it would be bad for us to grant a variance that would allow any construction to occur within an area that would be needed in the future if Metro or, someone needed to do some kind of drainage improvement project through here. This is, fairly large drainage area, and looking at the photograph, there's not a whole lot of room for this water to flow, and I'm a little concerned about, obstructing that existing channel. So based upon what staff is saying is that if someone were to record a plat on this property, that there would have to be an easement at least 5 foot wide from the top of the bank.
For a subdivision or for an individual residence?
Well, if you were, when you go through the process of recording a subdivision plat, if this had just been a vacant parcel, or if there had been a larger property here and they divided it into multiple parcels, then stormwater would look at this drain and they would more or less require an easement to be placed. Now, since this is already a recorded lot, there's not really that requirement for them to establish an easement. But, I think that we need to look at that to make sure that, in the future, it could be 50 years from now, whatever, Metro may decide to do some kind of storm drainage project through here. And we need to make sure that we're not encroaching too close on this drainage way in order to provide room for that to occur. So I'm surprised it would only be 5 feet from the top of the bank, but nevertheless, I just wanted to know, what normally they would ask for.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to revisit also a couple of points that Mr. Swafford made that we routinely try to clarify in this discussion. One is concerning the hardship. Mr. Swafford, within the last year or so, the State Appeals Court has reviewed a case that was heard in front of us and gave very specific definition to what a hardship means in this case. And I'm going to try to carefully paraphrase that conclusion, but it basically means that when a buffer ordinance like this is passed, if there is a parcel in the county that has such unique geologic or topographic or other natural conditions that could not be anticipated by the ordinance, that unique situation represents a hardship. It's probably fair to say that many lots in Davidson County share the dynamic of a stream intersecting the middle of the lot, and so therefore this lot isn't unique, and therefore wouldn't represent the type of hardship that you were referring to. We realize it is a hardship for you to have to work around this ordinance, but it's also a bit of a hardship to have to obey all the different laws that we all face to collaborate together as a society to keep our community protected the way we have defined it in our various ordinances. Secondly, we have seen, and I think Mr. Dale's comments are well taken. You emphasize the quality aspects that you're improving, but it's the quantity here that we also have to consider. Your existing building is only a little more than 40 feet from the top of bank now, or from the center line now, I think you may have said. And, typically when an existing structure is already that close, many developers would try to go vertical, try to remove the roof and go up. I realize that doesn't fit the purpose for your reason for expanding this. You probably don't want your mother-in-law or an elderly person to have to go upstairs unless you put your master upstairs and put her downstairs. But our primary concern here is that this is taking up quite a bit of space that your neighbors downstream of you depend upon not to make flooding worse for them. And actually it could also make flooding worse upstream if water is slowed down by these structures. So during a flood. So at this point, I'll have to say that I would have a hard time supporting this variance as it's presented. We could certainly give you the option of coming back to us with a different proposal that doesn't encroach nearly as much.
Mr. Galbraith?
Incorporates more of your vertical space. But Mr. Dale, you're recognized, please.
I just want to add to that before anybody else starts to speak here. I can hear someone trying to chime in. I just, when I would look at a stream buffer, I would probably divide it into 2 sections. I would maybe say there was a 15-foot, if we wanted to give it zones, maybe there's a 15-foot zone 1 and a 15-foot zone 2. That's probably how I'd look at it. I think if he was just looking at this addition G, I would have a much easier time probably trying to find a way to accept this. But I just think that the overall expansion that's shown in this plan is just too much. It's too much encroachment in that buffer. And this area I and H are not really habitable areas anyway. They're a carport and a patio or an area to go outside. I'm not sure. I know that they'd love to have those, but there may be some other way. So I would say right now that I couldn't support this, and I know the chairman couldn't support it. So I would hope that the applicant might consider coming back with something that's a little less aggressive.
Mr. Swafford, you're recognized.
Thank you. First off, thanks for your kind of clarification on what a hardship means. That was very informative and actually very helpful as well. And I certainly, understand, your hesitance to approve something like this. Would you mind pulling up that other photo with our house and alongside the other houses? Yeah, so that one. So, so I guess, one of the hard things for me has been seeing that, basically every single other property has built within this, zone 1 buffer. So if you're looking at, 2513, there is no buffer. It's all paved over. The other house, kind of 2 doors down, 2517, is kind of the same way. If you're looking at, the house directly next to us, they built within, 5 feet of the stream, and they actually have a garage that's entirely over it. Now, I understand that's what we're trying not to do because that is not good. But in terms of, to your points of kind of the flooding downstream and upstream, because these, existing structure, even on, 2503, there's the, garage that's, sitting, right on top of the stream as well. So, in terms of flooding, I will tell you that I am probably, in my opinion, the foremost expert in how water flows due to the fact of, how 2513 was built and how it's kind of stopped up water and started flooding the houses upstream. I would note that there is kind of a lawsuit between the five of our upstream neighbors and 2513 due to kind of the way that this was built. So I am intimately, kind of knowledgeable and concerned about not making flooding on our property worse. Also in kind of 2014, Stormwater hired a third-party company to kind of analyze the stream and, find where all of the problematic areas were. And that was fantastic, but there was no kind of recommendations on, how to fix this as a community. So it's kind of up to the individual owners to, kind of just battle out how to make the water flow properly. And I really have, I've had 4 different hydrologists on the property, 2 different landscape architects, 4 civil engineers, and, I can tell you right now, I guarantee you I would not build anything that would increase, kind of the flooding issues, because it is something that has caused so much stress to both, myself as well as kind of our upstream neighbors. But, that being said, I completely understand that, you're really trying not to have people, concrete over a stream or build a garage right over it or build close to it. So if you kind of the expert determination is that, our plan is just not a good idea, I'm certainly sad that, we can't do the things that are done similar to other people, but I do respect the decision. So anyway, that's my personal plea as it is. So anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Swafford.
Opportunity to speak, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Swafford. Yeah,
Mr. Galbraith, this is Randy Robbins.
hang on just a second, if you don't mind, Mr. Robinson. So I think that's where we are. We're not saying that you don't have other options that we could consider. We're just saying this, a couple of us are saying this current proposal is going to be really hard to do. And it's definitely going to make runoff worse and flooding less manageable. So that's kind of where we are. So Mr. Dale, since you had your hand up, I'll recognize you and then I'll recognize Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate the applicant and his opinion and what he's trying to accomplish. And I don't think this committee is saying that you can't do anything on this at the house. I just think that there's two of us right now that can't support this. And so we're just saying to you that in order to be able to obtain any kind of positive consideration, it's just going to have to be less aggressive. And we're basically almost using up the entire buffer by what's being proposed on this plan, and it's just too much.
Yep. All right, Mr. Robinson. Please keep it brief, sir.
Sure, thank you. I just wanted to answer Mr. Dale's mentioned the right of way. We do have more than 5 feet from the stream. There's about 8 feet as it stands from the stream to the back of the building for easement. And the other mention, I think it was mentioned, maybe not fully appreciated, is the fact that this is a historic overlay and just to build up is not an option. As far as the hardship part of it goes, you know, historic won't let you just add a second floor to the house.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I'm assuming you all do not want to consider withdrawing it and coming back. Is that correct, Mr. Swafford?
Yeah, that's correct. We've kind of been
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so need to entertain a motion to act on this at this point. So would anyone like to jump out there and offer a motion? Ms. Maddox.
I'm gonna make a motion we deny approval of the plan as submitted.
All right, thank you, Ms. Maddox. We have a motion to deny the approval as submitted. Mr. Dale, you're recognized.
I would second that motion.
All right, motion's been made to deny the approval as the variance is submitted and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll proceed with a roll call vote. Mr. Dale, how do you vote?
I wanted to follow up on that. So
okay, all right. Sorry, Mr. Dale.
Right, in our motion to disapprove, do we need to state any reasons or rationale why?
Ms. Costonis or Mr. Hunt?
I mean, I feel like the discussion has stated several bases that the motion could be interpreted to be based upon. So I think your record does support it.
It does provide reasons.
Okay, so I would make the second. I would second the motion to deny this request as submitted.
Okay, all right. So motion been made and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion from any committee member? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed with a roll call vote. Mr. Dale, how do you vote, sir? On the motion.
Aye. Yes to deny.
Yes to deny. All right, thank you, Mr. Dale, for making that clear. Ms. Maddox?
Yes.
Yes to deny. All right, Ms. Adams-Taylor?
Yes.
Yes to deny. Mr. Galbraith votes yes. All right, so the motion passes. The variance has been denied. Thank you, Mr. Swafford and Mr. Robinson, for your very professional, very calm and mature way you approached informing us of your needs, and we apologize we couldn't meet your request today, and wish you the best. Okay, so at this time we're ready to move on to the next case, and we're going to ask Ms. Hayes to provide a 2-minute verbal presentation. But before that, I need to ask the applicant if he or she heard the legal statement that we read at the beginning of this hearing. Is the applicant present?
This is Matt Burnett. Yes, I heard the legal statement earlier.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Burnett, if you'll be prepared with any of your witnesses or technical experts that you would like to participate in this discussion, please have them ready and please introduce them by name and their role in your proposal. So, Ms. Hayes, if you will be prepared to read the introduction, I want to remind the public, if you want to comment on this next case, you can call in 629-255-1919. All right, Ms. Hayes.
Case number 2 on the agenda is case number 2020000010, 1103 Due West Avenue North. This is single family residential. The stand par is 05004002600. The inspector, again, is yours truly, Kimberly Hayes. This is Council District 8 under Nancy Van Reese. The applicant's request is to allow the following: disturbance of the Zone 1 and Zone 2 buffer for construction of a single-family home. The appellant is Burnett Builders Incorporated. The representative is Kyle Schneider of Clover Engineering. The comments are as follows from the various departments. Stormwater staff requests an unmowed area adjacent to the creek. Also, buffer signs should be placed adjacent to unmowed vegetation. Codes, no comment provided. Planning, site is zoned RS20, deferred to stormwater for review. Greenways, no comment provided.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hayes. Appreciate that very much. All right, so our applicant, if you would introduce yourself and any guests, I'll start your 10-minute clock after your introductions. And you'll have 10 minutes to present your proposal for your variance.
Okay, thank you. My name is Matt Burnett with Burnett Builders, and my engineer, Kyle, should be on here, and he can explain some more details of this.
Kyle's last name, please?
Snyder, I believe.
Snyder.
So this property had an older home on it. It was, and we had purchased the property with intentions of replacing that with a newer home, and this is what we ran into with the stormwater. We were not aware of the stream, but here we are looking for a variance in order to replace the home in the same location that the old one is. Kyle, can you speak to that? Maybe Kyle's not on here. His name's on there.
Yeah, it may be that his mic is not working. I see him listed. All right, Mr. Burnett.
And I had to call in because my microphone wasn't working, so maybe he needs to call in.
Okay, so Mr. Burnett, if you could just text him on his cell phone, let him know that he'll have to call in. we can revisit his expertise maybe in the committee questions. So
Okay. I'll give him a call
few
right
more
now.
details. Okay.
Details from us, there's already an existing driveway, an existing bridge, which the driveway and the bridge service the house right next door. So it's a shared driveway and bridge. You know, where we would build the new house, there's not gonna, it's right where the old house is. You know, we're not gonna have to disturb anywhere near the stream area or anything up front. So I feel like we can do this with very little disturbance and improve the area.
All right, is that your presentation, Mr. Burnett?
Yes, sir.
I thank, sir. If you wouldn't mind muting your mic, we'll open up the public comment. We'll definitely come back to Mr. Snyder's expertise, because we're always glad to hear from engineers and other experts you bring.
Are you able to hear me now?
The public. Oh, is that Mr. Snyder?
Yep, sorry about that.
Okay, all right. Do you have anything to add to Mr. Burnett's summary of the site?
Sorry, I was scrambling there to get the phone connected, but I guess just to add from our perspective, the stream there, it's a Ewing Creek tributary. At this section, it drains over 100 acres, so we have both zone disturbances listed. You know, just under 700 square feet, zone 1, just under 1,829 square feet, zone 2. Yeah, I mean, just an existing home structure, and you know, we've lined up the proposed structure to essentially go right over the old footprint of the existing structure with as minimal disturbance as possible, and net impervious area runoff as possible as well. So. That's all I got.
Okay, Mr. Snyder, we'll come back to you with some questions in a minute. Appreciate that.
Yep.
All right, so Mr. Burnett, are you satisfied that that is your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Very, very concise. And so at this time, I'll open up the public hearing for members of the public to comment on this proposal. The number is 629-255-1919. That is on your screen. So at this time, I want to ask if there are any live call-in comments.
There are no call-ins. Thank
you, Ms. Gilbert. If since that happened kind of fast, if anybody does call in, please don't hesitate to let me know. Mr. Mishu, are there any people who are present in person at the kiosk at Sunny West Conference Room?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mishu. Mr. Bowman, do we have any email comments to be read?
There were no email comments on this case.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bowman. All right, let me just check back with Ms. Gilbert. Do we have any other live call-in callers at the moment, Ms. Gilbert?
No, we don't.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Okay, so at this point, without objection, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask anyone on the committee if they'd like to ask questions of the applicant and his engineer. Mr. Dale. Sorry, Ms. Maddox. Ms. Maddox, Mr. Dale is kind of going in and out. I'll recognize you.
Thank you. So can you clarify, are you removing the entire existing structure, including the slab or foundation and rebuilding? And then also, is the only new impervious area that it looks like you're adding a new sidewalk maybe along the front.
Yes, the existing is completely gone, and we are adding a sidewalk there out front. The other driveway is already existing, which it's gravel. Wasn't intentions to do anything with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maddox. Mr. Dale, you recognized?
Yeah, I think her question was actually, I know the building's gone, but is the old foundation of the building still there? And are you building on the current foundation? I think that's what she was trying to ask.
Okay, sorry. The old foundation is gone. And so we'll be putting in a new foundation.
So,
Ms. Maddox.
Rebecca, could you show that drawing that has the color codes on there and maybe enlarge that a little bit so I can see it? On that right-hand side, is there a table? Is that what that is? Okay. An impervious table? Okay. So this plan showed a concrete patio. Is that a proposed concrete patio behind the building?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
Is that your all your questions there, Mr. Dale?
I'm just sort of looking at it again. So what did staff say the drainage area was?
I think the engineer said it was, well, I'll let him speak.
It was over 100 acres. I think I was just kind of resketching it up here. I got around 140 acres.
Okay. So my question to staff is that at what point when an applicant comes in, are they required to do any kind of flood analysis? How many acres would that normally be? Is it a square mile? That's the question to you, Steve.
Mr. Mishu?
It is greater than a square mile, Roy, when you do a flood analysis. That's considered floodway.
Technical difficulties, yeah, square mile, Kimberly's right.
So that's 640 acres, right? Something like that? Right.
Yes, sir.
That's all my questions right now.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. I've got, I guess, 3 questions here. Did I hear you correctly that the bridge is the same bridge that was there before?
Yes, sir, the bridge is existing.
Okay, all right. And then my second question is for maybe Ms. Hayes, since she introduced the case. Ms. Hayes, as a technical expert on this, for this project, would you say that the mitigation that's proposed would offset the impervious surfaces that are being added to these buffer zones?
Rebecca, do you mind putting that plan, that landscape mitigation plan up? Yeah, we believe that to be sufficient.
Okay. All right. Mr. Dale, did we satisfy your interest in regard to your previous comments with the references to the mitigation proposed and the fact that the bridge is the original bridge?
You did.
Okay. All right. So having done this before, I get the sense we might be ready for a motion, but I'll recognize Ms. Doan.
I had a question as to what was the mitigation. Are these just existing trees being shown, or are you planting additional trees?
So we are showing the existing trees. What's existing is, well over, anything that's required. And the landscape architect felt that really getting in there, the only thing there would be to do is remove some invasive species, possibly near the stream bank or, additional plantings. But in his opinion, it was, there's a good amount of vegetation on the stream bank, and marginal amount of impervious area added to offset.
Are you proposing any mitigation?
Not really. Not besides what's existing there. Keeping the existing.
All right, is this Mr. Snyder speaking now?
Yes, right. Mr. Snyder.
So, Mr. Bowman, can you come on the mic for a minute?
Yes.
All right. Would you be willing to accept a proposal to, assuming this, my fellow committee members agree with this, that you would work with staff to define additional plantings to mitigate the impact of these new impervious surfaces in the buffer zone?
Sorry, I think you said Mr. Bowman, but I think you meant Mr. Burnett. Is that right?
Actually, I did mean Mr. Burnett. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Bowman. Mr. Burnett, there's too many B's in my head today.
Sure. No problem. Yes, sir, I'd be happy to work with staff on that.
And the reason I state it like that, Mr. Burnett, is that, we can prescribe what we think is appropriate mitigation, but, every additional detail that we add to a motion, meeting minutes, the letter that we send you outlining what we've either approved or disapproved creates additional debate and complexity as to the legal wording. And we found it's just much more effective if we can maintain the previous effective collaboration between our staff and applicants to resolve these things technically and amicably. So we appreciate your willingness to do that. Mr. Mishu, you had your hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to let Roy Dale know that just downstream of this property, maybe 2 houses down, it looks like our GIS does show some a floodway and some floodplain. So I believe this area, probably within the last few years, has been studied. So while this property doesn't have anything, just a couple properties down, there's actually a map floodway at that point.
Mr. Dale.
Rebecca, could you zoom in on that a little bit for me again so I can see those buffers and how they fit on this house? Either drawing's fine. So, there we go. So, this is a question I have for the applicant. Since you'll zoom in there. There you go. So it looks like that this house is barely encroaching on the Zone 1 buffer. And so, if you're not going to be building exactly on the current foundation, it looks like to me that you could probably shift this house maybe 2 or 3 feet and be totally outside of the Zone 1 buffer. Would that create a problem, Matt?
We could probably do that. It would, of course, it would make my patio smaller. The limiting thing, obviously, is the slope. Basically goes straight up out back. You can see that. But I'm willing to, to get it as tight as I can, back there.
My only concern is that this Stormwater Committee, pretty much has a history of not trying to avoid, those types of encroachments in the Zone 1 buffer. The sidewalk, I'm fine with that. I'm just curious if we couldn't just very slightly, I mean, even rotate just very slightly, I think you can stay out of the zone 1. So I'd like to hear what other committee members have to say about that.
Yeah, I'd support that. Roy, this Don Galbraith. What I appreciate about what the applicant did was it seems to be preserving the woods in the rear. You know, wooded watersheds are pretty critical to stream health as well. I do appreciate the fact that the applicant would lose some patio. Maybe it could go more horizontal. Maybe it could go wider instead of deeper to make up for some of the lost patio space. But I do agree that it would be ideal if the house could be moved out of zone 1. Any other committee member want to comment on that? Ms. Hayes, your technical expertise is welcome.
I just want to make sure we're only concerned about the footprint of the house and not the sidewalk.
Yeah,
That's correct.
Yeah.
We have
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is Roger Lindsay.
Hey, Roger. Yeah.
I understand the committee's concern about encroaching into that zone 1 just a little bit, but I think that one of the things we don't really talk a lot about, we don't see a lot of houses that are situated quite like this. There is an extensive uphill slope in this backyard. And I don't know that, that we offset by moving it back 2 feet, that we gain anything really in the zone 1, which at this point is not really mapped yet. But pushing it back closer to that extreme slope, there's going to be water against the back of that house anyway. Every time it rains, there'll be a significant runoff from that high bank slope. And I think that there will be, a detriment to the house itself already, and to push it back 2 more feet doesn't, it's just going to exacerbate that condition a little bit. It is unusual that we are like only 1 house away from the end of the mapped floodplain. In the old flood maps, that would be shown as the limit of the study. But we've established already that there's 100 acres of additional drainage, and we've had some pretty extreme storm events in Ewing Creek in the last 10 years. And so certainly we need to handle this house as though there are concerns relative to that floodplain, mapped or unmapped. So I just want to make that point.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Burnett, can you comment on Mr. Lindsay's comment? Do you share those concerns?
I mean, yes, the further we do move it back, and the more complicated it is to ensure that we keep water off the back of the home.
Okay.
So obviously I prefer to put it right where we have it drawn, which is exactly where the existing house was. But I'm open to working with whatever, the best options we have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burnett. And just make a comment as well, about past practice of this committee. Typically, we've tried to work with redevelopments of existing footprints of homes. If they didn't alter the previous footprint significantly, and particularly if we could get more sponginess and more water quality benefit with mitigation in the buffer to improve the existing condition buffer, and particularly if we weren't adding a new construction or tighter squeezing of the stream with a new bridge, new culvert. They are going to use the existing bridge and culvert, and it is a shared drive, so they're limiting the number of constrictions on that stream. So, Mr. Dale, you're recognized.
Okay. So since there's a recent flood study, and I'm looking at this map, is there, like where this study ends, is there an elevation, a flood elevation at that point? Do you know what that is?
Rebecca, would you mind putting that image back up?
You can just go back to the site plan, one that has contours, proposed contours.
There you go.
So,
Chairman?
So what elevation are we showing here on this building? What does that say? 476. I'm just wondering if that building, if we're in the floodplain, for that close to the floodplain, we would normally require that building to be elevated 4 feet above the flood elevation. And so it's possible that if that building was actually 2 foot higher, pushing the building back 2 feet is not going to really have much difference on going into that embankment. So that's a whole nother issue. I would hope, what do we need to do about that? What does staff need to do about making sure that this building is set at the proper elevation?
Mr. Mishu or Mr. Lindsay, please feel free to jump in.
Okay, to answer Roy's first question, I believe that cross-section that you could see that's on the screen is about 570.53. So being at the end of the study, unless Roger corrects me if I'm wrong, we would want to see at least 4 feet above that. If the committee is concerned, I think there's a way to do a regression analysis and try to determine an approximate 100-year. We usually don't use that unless you're like a square mile or more. But there is a way that we could, by means of regression / approximation, get a 100-year and determine what a 100-year for this property would be.
Mr. Bowman, Mr. Burnett, you have an interest in making sure that this house is going to be usable during a flood peak event. Do you have any concerns about us slowing this down to ensure that that the structure will be adequately elevated?
Of course, we don't want any potential flooding. I think, did somebody mention that it had to be 4 feet above the flood zone?
Typically, if that's the case for your lot, but we don't know what is the case for your lot right now. We're just trying to come up with the numbers to find out what would be the case for your lot.
Okay, so I guess what you're asking is to have time to figure out what your flood would look like, and then
yeah. Would you be willing? Do you want to defer it, ask for a deferral, or do you want us to vote on something of that nature? It might be more in your interest to ask for a deferral.
Okay. Yeah, if that's what we need to do.
Okay, Mr. Dale, you're recognized, and then Ms. Maddox came in after him.
Well, I think, so this area is not a square mile, so we probably wouldn't want to require them to elevate 4 feet. But we do need to make sure that the building's properly elevated based upon whatever we can calculate that flood elevation to be. And it may be fine right now, but it's a question to me. I would hope that that building would be at least 2 feet above, but right now I just don't know.
Right.
And I think that if we could look at that, I would feel better about it, but also maybe we could also look at how this affects, shifting this building back a little bit out of the zone 1.
Yeah. All right. Ms. Maddox?
Mr. Chairman, this is Roger Lindsay again.
Hey, Roger.
We can certainly do regression analysis, but you really begin to start using apples and oranges, because typically when we do regression analysis, we're measuring an elevation above the bottom of the creek, in essence. We don't always have a case where we know just one lot away what the last measured cross section is in the FEMA flood maps. I think that working with staff, we could establish a level, looking maybe at the difference in elevation in the creek from one lot to this next, and come up with a level that makes sense. And I also say that from the perspective that that because this lot is adjacent to, and we regulate parcels and structures that are in the floodplain or adjacent to the floodplain. And this certainly, in an unusual way, is adjacent to the end of the mapped floodplain. And so I think it's appropriate to establish that if we can kind of extrapolate that last cross section a little bit and use a 4-foot level, that you provide a lot better level of protection for the home and the eventual property owner. So I would recommend that we regulate it because it certainly continues to be in the floodplain, although at this point it's not a mapped floodplain.
Mr. Lindsay, is this another one of those collaborative, detailed processes that you all could work out with the applicant if he was amenable to having that?
I certainly think so. Yeah, I wouldn't want to defer a month just for this purpose, because I think staff can agree.
That's where I'm headed. Okay. So Ms. Hayes, you had your hand up next, and then Ms. Maddox.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I still had it.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hayes.
Roger touched on it. Basically, maybe we can work with staff to try to see what that BFE would be. Doing a regression analysis may be a little bit of an overkill. And as Roger stated, we'll be measuring from, the bottom of the creek. The two things, I guess, if Rebecca could probably pan out just a little bit so we can see what are the cross sections adjacent to that, if there are any other cross sections nearby, and then what is the current FFE that was noted on the structure?
So, Ms. Hayes, if you don't mind, I think we're ready to move this along.
Okay,
I'm just kind of guessing after having experienced these kind of discussions before. And Ms. Maddox, did you want to say something?
Yes. So if the orange line shown, if they're encroaching a floodway buffer also, is that part of their variance request?
Good point.
And do we need to add it if not?
Any staff want to respond to that? Maybe that's what Ms. Hayes was about to get to. Mr. Dale.
I think technically that's a zone 2 buffer as well. And so I think they probably should show it. So, Roger, if I know this is not adopted yet, this flood study, I know that we use whatever, stormwater uses whatever's current, whatever the best information available is. But at some point in time, if this becomes an adopted plan and there's an elevation established, even after it reaches at the end of this study, then they would be required to elevate their building. So, I think I know it's uncomfortable for the applicant. It's going to delay this maybe 30 days or whatever, but I think it's just something that this committee needs to do. And in the end of the day, it may be good for this applicant as well, because wherever we know, you may need to apply for flood insurance at some point in time to get an elevation certificate. So I think that this is something that should be done. Can we move to defer this, or does the applicant need to make that request?
I think, Mr. Dale, the applicant has tentatively indicated a willingness to defer it. Mr. Lindsay and Ms. Hayes implied that if we wanted to entertain a motion to have staff resolve the mitigation and the flood height or the elevation that the building should be raised, if we want to have a general motion to have them work out those details amongst themselves, we might could act on it today. But if you feel like that we don't have enough information as a committee to feel comfortable with granting the variance, then a deferral would be more appropriate. We got two potential motions in that comment right there. Well, excuse me, a deferral by the applicant and then a motion to have staff and the applicant work out both the mitigation details and the flood elevation details. Ms. Maddox.
I wouldn't feel comfortable approving it until we know whether or not the finished floor has to be raised, because that could change the grading requirements and some other things on the property that aren't current condition as is.
Thank you, ma'am. That's why we love engineers. All right, Ms. Ronette Adams-Taylor.
I support what Ms. Maddox is saying. I was going to say, I think we need to wait to figure out where the grading is. And my recommendation is having the applicant, if the applicant seems comfortable with deferring and coming back.
All right, so Mr. Burnett, would you like to request a deferral?
Yes, I'll be happy to request a referral or deferral to get that part worked out. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Ms. Costonis, do we need to vote on that request, or can the applicant withdraw it independently of our vote?
Sorry, I was having a little trouble unmuting myself.
That's all right.
So I think that if he withdraws it, he might lose his opportunity to let his current filing fee ride. So it'd probably be better if you all voted to defer it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, we have a motion. Mr. Dale.
I would move that we defer this request, and that if it's a proper motion, for him to work with the staff in order to determine a proper placement of the building and finished floor elevation of the building.
And would you be willing to add mitigation details to that, Mr. Dale, to that motion?
And I'm sorry, and that he also coordinate with staff on a more definitive mitigation plan.
All right. Thank you, sir. So we have a motion to defer for 30 days per our committee rules, and for the applicant to work out with staff the details of the flood elevation heights for the building structure and for the mitigation details. Ms. Maddox.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion's been made and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all hands have been dropped. Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call vote on the motion that's been properly made and seconded. Mr. Dale, how do you vote?
Vote yes to defer.
All right, Mr. Dale votes yes to defer. Ms. Maddox?
Yes.
Ms. Maddox votes yes to defer with the two additional conditions. Ms. Adams-Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Adams-Taylor votes yes to defer with the two additional conditions. Mr. Galbraith and Mr. Dale all concur yes. All right, so we have a unanimous vote. Motion passes. Mr. Burnett, we'll look forward to seeing you next month, and want to encourage you to try to resolve as many details as you can, and this might go, we might take up a little bit less of your time next month if you all have it worked out very thoroughly.
All righty, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your professionalism. Thank you, Mr. Snyder, for your input. And so at this point, we have addressed our final cases, final two cases on the agenda today. I don't think we've got any items of business. I did want to recognize the fact that Mr. Mishu and I haven't started the conversation yet about our motion in the last meeting to do a sort of an analysis of potential mitigation criteria that could help applicants come to us with a little greater understanding of what we could approve, even though it's on a case-by-case basis, as Mr. Hunt articulated previously, and to just see if we can give applicants a little more insight. I have secured a graduate student to provide us a little background research and help, and her name is Julie Alwazinski, and she's on here with us, or excuse me, Zinsniak. I said your name wrong, Julie, I apologize. But she's been listening in today, and so I'll be making an introduction of her and to the stormwater staff and working with Mr. Mishu, and we'll be coming back to you all in the future with some proposals to consider. All right, Mr. Mishu, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. If there's a way to make legal satisfied, would it be beneficial to the committee if we were able to somehow get you meeting minutes or decision letters to preview and to make comments prior to the meeting?
I think you're doing that now.
I know internally we're reviewing it at staff level. I just wasn't sure whether you'd like the opportunity to review it, potentially make comments, and then having us update it prior to the actual meeting.
So you mean earlier than the 5 days we normally get them before the next month's meeting?
Yes, sir. We haven't vetted this. This is something that Michael thought of just a few minutes ago. So it's not fully vetted yet. I'm not sure if we could really do it as far as Ms. Penny, as far as time wise, or Ms. Costonis as far as legal wise. I'm just wondering if that was something that would be helpful, or you guys would want us to do, if there's a way to possibly make it work.
Ms. Costonis.
Thank you. So my concern would just be avoiding electronic deliberation. So basically, it's fine for the commission members to have individual conversations with Ms. Gilbert or with any of the staff or with myself, but it is not okay for the email communications to be amongst the other committee members. Those any back and forth exchanges need to be between individual committee members and staff, and not, kind of between and among each other. Certainly it's fine for y'all to give feedback to staff. The most important thing with the minutes, I think, being that they accurately reflect, what was actually stated at the prior meeting. It's sort of similar to the issue we ran into this morning. If what it is something where the committee actually wants to change the motion that was previously adopted, then that's more like a request for a rehearing. And we have a procedure for that. Where we're all just trying to get it as accurate as possible, I think if you have comments and you notice something, you can kind of send it back to staff. They can kind of verify that the correction is correct to what actually happened at the prior meeting, and then they could send out a revised set of minutes for approval at the actual meeting. I think that would be okay.
Yeah, I think that's fine, and I think that's understood. We had a combination of factors of not knowing if the minutes reflected a complete motion that some of us had an understanding was intended, and then after we looked at the video, we saw that this new kind of more challenging communication experience that we're participating in now made things a little harder to make sure we're understanding each other. And so I do think everybody understands there's a difference between making sure the minutes accurately reflect the recorded discussions. And then if we didn't like the motion, that was either what we wanted or not wanted, then we have to revisit that in a separate rehearing. So I do think that a little bit of engagement, perhaps maybe an executive committee of maybe the chair and vice chair, might kind of keep this from getting into too much additional work for the other committee members. But if we need a motion on that to give me and Ms. Maddox a little extra work, maybe right after a meeting, to make sure that that we feel like the recording matches the first draft of the minutes, and whether or not we need to ask for a rehearing in the next meeting if those kind of discussions need to take place between individual members of the commission and staff to make this process a little more efficient. I do think it could help. All right, so would anyone like to entertain a motion to have some interaction between maybe an executive committee of this commission to interact with staff on making sure that our minutes and decision letters sort of get off on the right foot, so to speak? Ms. Costonis.
I would just say that any subcommittee or executive committee is also subject to open meetings requirements.
And that means they need to be publicly noticed?
Yes, sir.
So then, Ms. Costonis, would it be easier if just one person were asked to follow up with staff, maybe within the next week of a meeting, and that way we don't get into any kind of semblance of a sub-function of the commission?
That would certainly be fine. Or again, I think if more than one individual communicates with staff about something they spot in the minutes, and then staff kind of reviews the video and kind of verifies for themselves, yes, that correction has merit, then I think they can make that correction and recirculate the revised minutes. I don't think that would be a problem for them to do that, because really, if it's not really substantive, it's not a substantive change. It's just kind of like going back to ensure that the minutes are as accurate as possible to what was actually stated during the meeting. That probably is something that the staff members who are preparing the minutes can use their judgment to determine, and then if they find those changes like meritorious, then circulate that as a revision, and then that would just be, so we would change the template of the minutes that the committee is working off of once the open meeting commences and you all are able to actually deliberate and discuss and vote.
All right. So it sounds like then that maybe just the easiest kind of unofficial thing to do is just to make sure that all of our commission members understand that if Steve and Penny send out an earlier draft of the minutes, that they not communicate with other commission members about an error or an edit that they see that they feel like that could be improved or edited, that they communicate that directly to staff and not to another commission member. And that way we just kind of leave everybody the opportunity to review it if everybody receives it, but we don't have any cross communication between committee members. Does that sound okay, Ms. Costonis?
If I may just make a little suggestion to staff there, a trick that works to avoid electronic deliberation is if you put your own name in the to box when you send out a group email, and then put all the committee members as BCCs, even if they inadvertently hit reply to all, it'll only go back to the person in the to box.
Perfect.
So that's a good trick to prevent that from happening.
That sounds like a best practice. No trick in that. Okay, Mr. Mishu, how do you like that idea?
Thank you, sir. I think the biggest thing is I was just hoping to see if you guys would like to at least start something exploratory with staff and legal, so that way we could try to work offline, try to figure something out, and then come back at the next meeting with either an option or a couple options to move forward with.
I would, and I would be fine with everybody being blind copied on an earlier draft of the minutes and decision letters, and then people having the opportunity to participate or not. If that's what you mean by kind of an early discussion, I think that way we don't get into a lot of official processes that we have to monitor.
I think the biggest thing is if we could just work behind the scenes and try to figure out what is the right method moving forward to make legal happy and to get you guys the absolute best information at the right time.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Any other committee members want to weigh in on this before we consider adjournment? All right, seeing none. Ms. Costonis, did you want to say anything else?
No, I just forgot I still had my hand up. Apologies.
That's all right. Yeah, I noticed the run of show says I'm supposed to click your hand off, but I don't know how to do that, so I apologize. All right, Ms. Maddox, you briefly raised your hand, so I want to be sensitive to the fact that I may have missed your interest.
That's okay. I was just gonna say I like where this discussion is headed.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Maddox. All right. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. All right, anybody else? The only other item of business we have is to consider a motion to adjourn. Mr. Dale.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Mr. Dale is recognized, made a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Ms. Maddox seconds the motion. Motion been made, probably seconded to adjourn the August 6th meeting of the Stormwater Committee. All those in favor? I guess we need to do this. Well, actually, we don't have to do a roll call vote on this. So, and I don't even think we have to have a motion to adjourn, do we, Ms. Costonis? I forgot about that because of the. All right, so we are officially done, and appreciate members of the public's patience, and appreciate all of your service. Appreciate Stormwater staff and IT folks for doing another excellent job of helping us manage unusual circumstances.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.